Hola, everyone. Um, one of the things in this past week since I last joined with you that um, I was guided to do was to reread What is Forgiveness in A Course in Miracles. It's that one page in the workbook, part 2 of the workbook in the lessons. And I wanted to read it again because I just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper with it. And the reality is, this morning I woke up and read it again, and I thought, wow, everything that we need to know about forgiveness is in the first sentence. You don't need to read the whole page, it's in the first sentence. And so maybe we'll just talk about the first sentence. Um, okay, what is forgiveness? Forgiveness recognizes what you thought your brother did to you has never occurred. Okay. Now, and I want to just kind of put not only what your brother did to you has not occurred, but everything else that has occurred has not occurred. Okay. This is really, Jesus was quantum. Jesus was not of this planet. Jesus was quantum. So A Course in Miracles, all this book is telling us is to get quantum, kids. You're taking it far too seriously. And it's like what Christine and I were talking about just before I started the recording. It's like, keep dialing back those thoughts that you think you know what's going on. Oh, this happened, and oh, I need to go to the doctor for this, this, and this. And oh, all these decisions that we make in a split second are coming from our I know mind. That mind will never be helpful. The I know mind is in the horizontal linear time frame. I know mind is completely based on time, past and future. And the I know mind will never, ever guide us to happiness. It won't. It just can't. And so it's like really learning how to rethink is really what we're doing in this room, because we just haven't thought well. There was a oh God, I can't think of the kid's name. He's a kid, a parent child. Um, his website is Vibes and Frequencies. I have no idea what planet this kid was dropped from, but I get he is talking A Course in Miracles completely. And there was this one thing that he just did on trusting God, and he may be 20. I don't know. He's a baby. And the whole thing is, he just shared that he's living in his car. And he said he really went back and forth about whether to share this because he didn't want to share it and have people feel sorry for him. Because really what he's getting is, this is his preference, because his focus is on his mind. It has nothing to do with circumstances in his life and what's going on. And without, I don't know if he's ever read A Course in Miracles, but I kept thinking, he is totally living in the vertical. And, and he talked just so beautifully about it. And I thought of myself at 20, and I was so indoctrinated into make more money. I mean, I really go to college, get a degree, learn how to do it better. I mean, it just was the way it was in my family. My brother and I were the first two kids in either family that went to college. And it was my mother and father. They just would not hear. We didn't have a choice. It was not a choice. You go to school. And looking back on it now, thinking, and I can say this, Tom Hanks, I think it was Tom Hanks that said this once. He said, I wish I could give everybody all the money that they could possibly desire, for them to see that it will not make you happy. You know? And yet we live on this horizontal framework that it's get better, get better. You need to get better. You need to do more. You need to be bigger. You need to, expand, be somebody. Blah, blah, blah. And the reality is no, it's get quiet. Trust quiet is enough. Trust that everything you need will be provided for. I wrote him a letter because I was just so moved by this talk he had. And I just said, at 20, I wasn't there and I had to go on. I was extremely good at making money. And I'm not saying that I'm proud of this, not even remotely. And that was one of the reasons I gave it all away, because I realized I had money had a very strong meaning in my mind. And maybe it was because I came from two immigrant parents. I don't know. But money meant I could protect myself. In case something happened, I could go to the hospital. In case something happened, I could get a room with a roof, or a house. If I needed a car, I had the money. It was this huge protection mentality. Comfort. It would allow me to be comfortable. I could do the things that I wanted to, take vacations, whatever. And the reality was that was the big reason. Oh, there were several, but that was one of the big reasons that I decided to give it away, because I really realized that I needed to live in divine providence. Because while I had money, I wasn't trusting God completely. I was trusting God within this framework of I'll trust God, and then if God doesn't pan out, I've got money. And that's not what Jesus was saying. Oh man, I catch hell on saying this all the time, particularly on Facebook, which I try to avoid a lot. Jesus Jesus doesn't mince words. I know this. And he does not mince words. And in the Bible, he was quoted as saying to the disciples, give everything away and follow me. Now, he wasn't saying, well, bring several clean underwear, make sure that you've paid off all your debts. That he just said, give it all away and follow me. Now, I like to think, when all the disciples went back to their families and said, okay, this guy that I met on the road said to give it all away and follow him. I can only imagine the conversations that were going on in the families. What, are you nuts? You're kidding. Why are you doing this? And that's what I get from this kid from Vibes and Frequencies. He was saying, no one understands why I'm doing what I'm doing. They all think I'm crazy. And I just thought, fabulous, fabulous. We should all be called crazy in whatever ways we're called crazy, because following the game plan of the ego, remember, the ego wants us dead. Period. Let's get real clear here. The ego wants us dead. So if we're following this game plan that the ego has presented to, I would say 99.9999% of the population, although that's changing quite rapidly right now, it's really to go, and I know Hannah and I have talked about this before. It's like standing at the edge of the cliff. Jesus wants us all to become great cliff divers. So you're standing at the edge of the cliff and you've got whatever considerations you've got whatever fears you've got, and you're trusting the peace of God above all else. It's a singular focus. And diving off that cliff, and now it can be a little bouncy, as Hannah has probably found out, it can be very bumpy, but it's to continue to come back to, nope, I trust the peace of God. So all of this are just lessons I would learn to undo this programming of ego, that something is going to, something, I say that on the timeline, will protect us. That's not what I'm saying. I have no idea how anything's going to turn out. But what I do know in this process in my mind is, and it's like Christine was saying before the Zoom, I can keep coming back to trust. It's time to trust more. It's time to trust more. So no matter what insanity is showing up on the screen, it's keep coming back. And I say the more insanity that's showing up on the screen, it just means that the more you want to wake up. Because, and again, I should not be quoting the Bible, but I'm going to do it again. It's like, it's easier for a poor man to get into heaven than a rich man. I'm just doing serious damage to Jesus. But it's really, the more money that you have around you, the more you feel protected from this movie. Okay? And I've been known, and I don't mean this, and I'm not saying this to you personally. I'm just saying the best thing I ever did for speed up for myself was give all my money away. Holy Mother of Christ. It threw me into, and Hannah, this is for you, chaos. Chaos. And with every new piece of chaos came the most exquisite clarity when I stayed in prayer with it. And so it was, oh my God, it just kept going and going and going. And I'm thinking, the thought would always come back to, what the hell were you thinking, giving all your money away? Are you out of your mind? Now, this was 10 years ago about that. Now I can say without exception, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was the best thing I could have done for myself because it got all those beliefs. I mean, because they all came up. Yep, every single one of them. And it looked a little insane. People in my life, my God, what cult have you joined? It still was. There was a big thing on Facebook that a teacher of A Course in Miracles posted, and I just got real rigorously honest and said, no, I gave all my money away. And they were blaming another teacher for asking for money. And I just said, no, I actually went to the teacher and said, look, I see you're taking in a lot of kids that don't have any resources. They're young, just like this Vibes and Frequencies kid that I'm watching. They're living out of their cars, but they know their minds want to do it a different way. And I want to donate my money to those kids because he was taking them into the community. He still does. And it's kind of like, for me, oh my God, makes me so happy. I don't even need to know who they are. I just know that I gave some resources to help these young people that are so confused, but they've got this light in them that they know they need to do it some different way than what has been shown to them. And I love that. So I didn't want to give my money to an organization that's fixing broken things. Nope, didn't want to support that one iota, but I could freely give that money to someone that was supporting young people in seeing everything differently. And it's just, it's not about the money. It's about, Hannah, you've been in my mind so much this past week. It's like you dove head first off a cliff, and I'm not even sure what happened, but I know how it resulted. And all I can say is trust. We have no idea what's going to come of this. But I know you faced a massive fear, and you did it anyway. And it's like, and that's what Jesus is asking of all of us, is whatever is the fear, take it on. And this is not in, I'm not talking in any, I'm not talking psychobabble here. Okay. I'm saying, look at your life. What's the big fear? Get to it. Go to it. Don't block it out. Go immediately to it and sit with it and ask for help with it. Jesus, help me see this differently. Don't avoid it, because that's the very thought that will set you free if you're willing to dive off the cliff, just like Hannah was talking about last week. It's like, because just saying, oh, I did this most of my life. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. But you're not going to see that because I didn't trust anyone. So I did trust God. That's the one thing that was the same throughout my life. I loved God. Hated religion, hated a lot of things, but I loved God. And that was that was what helped me heal, is the one thought that God's got me. And as you're diving off the cliff, you've got to have that thought in mind. It's got to be ingrained in your soul. It's got to be ingrained in your soul. God's got you. You're a loving thought in the mind of God, and you thought you could do it better. You know, in my world of thought, oh, well, I love God and I'll just make more money so I can protect myself better. And at some point, it became the noose that was tightening around my neck. And it wasn't until I thought, okay, I'm ready to take this on. I'm no longer wanting this noose because it's just keeping me a victim to this movie I'm watching. And until I was able to release it completely and fly by the seat of my pants off the cliff and just go, okay, anything that shows up right now is a lesson I would learn. And there was a lot of stuff that hit the fan. A lot of shit hit the fan. And it was like I took one on after the other. It's like, okay, another lesson for me that I would learn. That's the only reason I'm here, is to learn these lessons. It's not to be more comfortable. It's not to get the life I want and think I deserve. And oh my God. I mean, I've said all these things. This is not proud of it, but that's just where I had to come from. Because I started this process out trying to protect myself while loving God. And that's not it. Jesus is talking about take the leap. This is not about being comfortable and thinking life is going to take care of us. Because it's like watching the movie and thinking the movie is going to protect us. No, the movie's just there as a movie. And then we have reactions to the movie. That's for me to clear. That reaction, no matter what the reaction was. Okay? I mean, and I'm going to talk about this because it was a huge healing for me 2 weeks ago. I don't know when it was, week or 2 weeks ago. A teacher that I love, a Course in Miracles teacher, was pointing out error in another teacher. And it was about giving your money away. Like, that's not okay. You should never give your money to a teacher. And I just thought, wow, what's that all about? And then there was Facebook, and oh my God, there were 1,001 different conversations about it. And I wrote something, and it was basically, every teacher is perfect. And I have learned from most along this path. Now, many I don't continue with because I've moved on. But the reality is I needed every single teacher that I have ever come in contact with for something. And I tell you, I can get something from everybody. Absolutely everybody. I have to get my I know mind out of the way though. Because if my I know mind is there, it's going to go, wow, that teacher's fucked. And I've said that too. Not proud of it, but that's the truth. And the reality is, no, every teacher is perfect. Just like every situation that we come in contact with is perfect. And it's just, like Christine said before the Zoom, keep unraveling, uncover, and keep coming back to the one truth that you can hang everything on, the peace of God, because that's what we came from. That's what, it doesn't matter what we look like or what we're planning or how we want our life to go. It is to really trust God will guide us in the direction that we need to go that will serve us and the whole best. And the best way we can do it is take whatever situation is in front of you and really love it. Love it with all your heart and soul. Know it's the perfect place for you to be. There's nothing wrong here. There's absolutely nothing wrong here. Okay? God, I thought I was going to read this whole thing, but I'm not. Forgiveness recognizes what you thought your brother did to you has not occurred. So if you're sick or you're in pain or you've lost everything, all your money or whatever, this definition of forgiveness holds. Forgiveness recognizes what you thought your brother did to you has not occurred. Forgiveness recognizes what you think about your body or your life has not occurred. It's bullshit that you continue to tell yourself, and that keeps the belief in place. And the only way to eradicate the belief is to challenge. That's what forgiveness is, a challenge to what we think is true and right and good and kind and beautiful. Use whatever, it was like the dryer out here. Someone asked me not too long ago, does the dryer still bother you? And I said, no, I dealt with it. I forgave it. It's done. I don't care who uses a dryer at any time of the day or night, because the belief that, for me, the dryer was the belief that people were not being kind. I had a very strong belief people should be kind. But that's nonsense. That's a belief. People are going to be who people are going to be. I'm sure Hitler had his own version of what kindness was. Who's to say? It's just a belief. And so mine was to go way beyond the belief of kindness, jump off the cliff. I have no idea what kindness is. I have no idea what love is. I have no idea how to manage this incarnation. But there's one that does, and that's God. And God gave me Holy Spirit as my personal guide and comforter to take me through this. So when things get rocky, and they do get rocky, it's to go to Holy Spirit and say, okay, this seems to be a little unmanageable right now. I could use a little assistance. Can you return me to some semblance of peace? And then I'll get peaceful for a while, and then new levels will be shown to me that I need to dive even deeper and dive even deeper. This is not a simple process. This is a lifelong commitment that we've taken on, that we birthed ourselves into this movie, that the only thing we're here to learn is how to love without judgment. Oh, my feet are swollen. Oh, thank you. Holy Spirit, help me see it differently, and let's just move on with the day. You know, it doesn't matter what happens. It's not about the script items. It's about how we're holding the whole heart. You know, how Jesus held the whole heart. He didn't hold anything against anyone. You know, I don't know the Bible enough, but I know at the time, you know, women that were prostituting themselves were not seen in the highest regard. Jesus didn't hold it that way. Jesus loved them. Yet, you know, depending on how you believe the Bible, Mary Magdalene. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. I know I've heard others say, oh no, Mary Magdalene was not a prostitute. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? That's just that same idea that prostitutes somehow are not worthy of Jesus. They're not worthy of seeing that everything is a lesson they would learn. And it's really just allow this stuff to come up and join in the beauty of cliff diving and go for it. And I guarantee, even though there may be some bumps, and the money thing, it wasn't a constant thing, but it would come up. And I actually was talking to Suzanne not too long ago. I can't remember what it was. But I used to have this thought, oh my God, why did I give all my money away? You know, something would happen. And I'd have this thought, oh my God, why did I give all my money away? And I would come back to, nope, I am in divine providence. And my only task in this lifetime is to trust God and forgive everything else. And it's, you know, it's a high calling, but I know anyone that's on these Zooms, it's a high calling. You know, I was telling Suzanne, you know, I was telling Suzanne, one of the thoughts that has crossed my mind, you know, I've done over 100 videos, and I think there's maybe 5 or 10 likes. Over 100 videos that have been watched. Oh, I don't know. I haven't added them up, but you know, 200, 400 views, and I get like 5 likes. And you know, I have to laugh at it. And Suzanne just laughs at me laughing at it. She was saying, well, Jesus wasn't a bestseller either in his time. You know, he was lucky to get 13 to follow him. You know, it's like, that's just the way it is. And, you know, his message, which is A Course in Miracles, is a deep dive. And to read it lightly, and believe me, I spent 30 years in book study, which I consider, you know, I was still trying to figure out A Course in Miracles in a linear setting. And I had to go vertical with the message of A Course in Miracles to get anything from it. And the vertical message is, in this moment of now, what is my heart telling me? In this moment of now, what do I need to do? Holy Spirit, help me see this. And it's a lot of prayer, and it's the most worthwhile thing I've ever done. And that's really all there is to be said about that. So with that, I'm going to turn off the recording. You know, bye, you two people. Sorry, I was going to read the whole thing. It's in the workbook. The workbook where all the lessons are has a part 1 and a part 2. If you go to part 2 of the lessons, there are all these pages. I was even going to talk about what is salvation today, but felt more important to do this. What is forgiveness? Because there was just some other things on my mind. And they're just, I think about 10 different things. What is God? What is the ego? What is self? They talk about these. So you can go to that and read them. Like I said, I got trapped on what is forgiveness, and I must have read it about 4 or 5 times this week. It's like just just apply. Don't try and figure it out. That's the booby prize. And if you're trying to figure it out, ego's got you by the throat. It's application in whatever comes up to you, and it's usually, the thought goes, oh, I should say this or I should do this. And then the ego quells it very quick. Shut up. No, that's not it. Never, ever, ever. You got to listen to that soft voice, that quiet voice, and listen for how is it best for you to apply these principles from A Course in Miracles that Jesus wants us to apply. Application. It's all application. There's nothing to learn. You've already learned it. There's no other guru to go to. It's be here now and listen for that small voice. And the beauty is, the more you listen to that small voice, the small voice gets very loud. And now I can't mistake when Holy Spirit's talking to me, it's loud. And it's like, do this. Okay, fine, do that. And it's like, I don't second guess Holy Spirit ever. So that's what I gift all of you. Don't second guess Holy Spirit. Just follow that, what starts out to be a very quiet voice, but gets progressively bigger and bigger. Okay? So with that, I'm going to turn off the recording. Goodbye, YouTube people.